there is no road access to it. So it's one of only 4 properties, I think, along the whole south stretch that has no road access. So everything to build it had to be driven along the beach.
I'm Robin Johnson. This is Yours for the Making, and I'm joined by Rob Pollard from RX Architects.
If you kind of embrace it and you run with it and you can add something to it, then I think you'll get more and more opportunities than kind of sitting back and letting it come to you sort of thing.
This show tells the story of the makers, the people that create things, whether it's in wood or metal, whether they're artists or musicians or chefs. It doesn't matter. I'm going to tell their story.
When we take clients to see those sorts of things, they love it because they remember it at the end of the job. They're like reflecting back on when we went to the workshop and looking at the kitchen looks now, and do you remember when we were picking and choosing those samples?
Essentially, what you do is going to probably last for near enough forever. At least your lifetime, if not your children's and grandchildren's life.
That's it.
You're leaving a legacy with your design.
Yeah, that is the cool thing about it.
I'm Robin Johnson. This is Yours for the Making, and I'm joined by Rob Pollard from RX Architects. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for coming in. So RX, tell me a little bit about it. First of all, where'd you get the name from?
So the name refers to the boat code for Hastings and Rye. So we decided that Rye was the right place for us to set up. It's sort of close to home. We love doing sort of coastal projects, and rather than naming it after ourselves, we decided that RX. It's quite a sort of punchy, visually sort of graphic that we could come up with, but also all of the boats in Hastings and Rye have that stamped on them. So we thought that could be quite a nice little take on it. It sort of tells people where we're from, and it's got a little story to it. And again, graphically, sort of, it's quite punchy. So yeah, we went with that.
And you've been really over the last few years, maybe the last 5 or 6 years at least, you've been at the forefront of beachfront properties in the area, maybe starting in Camber and gradually sprawling out.
That's the one, yeah.
Town by town. And I wonder if part of that is because people see RX on the boats parked on the beach all along the coast, and then they think, oh, RX Architects,
Yeah.
Maybe subconsciously.
Pick it up. I mean, it sort of naturally evolved. I think we're kind of right place, right time as well, because the whole sort of beach house, second home, kind of post-COVID scenario started to build. So just as we were building, that was happening a lot. And I think that those coastal towns that needed a little bit of regeneration, where you got some rundown properties that need redeveloping, we're, again, right place, right time. So we did one, just won it by chance. We pitched against a couple of other architects, and then from there it just grew. So we ended up doing, I think we've done 25 just in Camber alone. And then we've gradually worked our way along the coast. So from sort of pet level into Hastings, into Coodon, we've got some towards further towards Brighton Way.
Really?
So yeah, we got
sprawling out.
Exactly, stretching along the coastline. That's it. So no, it's really good and really exciting projects.
We're filming this live in the workshop, so it's going to be quite a bit of noise, people driving past and stuff. I've watched your practice grow. I worked on a project that your partner in the practice, Derek, was running at the Gallivant Hotel. That must have been 2018, something like that.
It was right. Finished just before COVID, I think.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. So, I mean, the Gallivant was not a small project, but that was the first time I'd come across you guys. And then since then, it's like I turn a corner on the beach somewhere and there's another RX board and there's another one. And you got that quite a unique style. I mean, for me, it reminds me a little bit of like California beach house, very big, square, open, lots of windows looking out across it. I mean, why wouldn't you? If you're on the beach anyway, you buy the beach property for the beach view. So, I walk along the beach and you see all these huge windows and nice flat roof terraces and balconies and stuff.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, we try and sort of every time most clients sort of have seen a project of ours and say, I love that project. And we're almost trying to persuade them to not replicate that project. Like, that's boring.
Rinse and repeat.
That's it. Yeah. So we kind of, set ourselves a poison chalice each time by trying to reinvent the wheel, I guess, a little bit. But that's what makes it interesting. So, yeah, we again, experiment with different materials, different construction techniques, different types. But I think the thing on the beach is it's so brutal, it's so corrosive that making people aware of that and what materials are right, and glazing and things like that. All of that needs to be considered, as well as what it's going to look like. So all of those things. I think once people get used to the idea of living on the beach, the reality sort of hits them. You see like all the nice finished photos of beautiful view across the beach, but you got the realities of being there with the salt environment, the sand, the busy beach, all those sorts of things. So
the storms all through the winter.
Absolutely, yeah. Which is kind of when it's at its most epic, I think. It's like, standing in a sort of pretty well sealed building that's nice and warm, looking out at a storm on the beach is mega.
Yeah.
As long as the roof's not blowing off or the wind's not coming through the window. So no, it's good.
Well, that's probably why a lot of yours don't have a pitch roof, right? They're just
that's the one.
Nice flat roof, nice and safe.
Keep it nice and simple, and using really nice natural materials that, if they sort of tarnish and weather, and it's part of the character of it rather than anything too precious usually.
And that's, I guess, beachfront properties is what I'm assuming you're kind of known for now. I mean, that's what I think of when I think of RX Arctics. I think a nice big beachfront property. Yeah,
that is, again, not by design that we've specifically gone out and said we only want to do beach houses, but it's naturally occurred that we've ended up doing a lot of them, and we really enjoy doing them. We've also sort of bizarrely branched into doing a lot of wineries. So we're working with 5 or 6 wineries at the moment, which again is like a
5 or 6 wineries. It's mad to think that there's 5 or 6 wineries in the south of England.
Oh, it's a ridiculous amount now. Yeah.
There was always one local one to us here that it was in a spot of bother in the news because he was dabbling his wines and winning competitions with wine that he might not have fully grown. But there wasn't really many others, but now there's like a vineyard in every other village.
Oh, it's mad, yeah. And you've got, I think it's Tattinger have bought up loads of area around Canterbury as well. So they're even growing grapes here to take back to France and produce champagne.
Someone told I can't remember who it was, but I was talking to someone about how the regions are kind of shifting, and there's like a fine belt that used to be the Champagne region that the right kind of grapes for Champagne would grow, have slowly been shifting north, and apparently where we are is like the peak of that belt.
That's it. And they're saying that when the Champagne houses started in sort of 1800s, the climate now is exactly here what it would have been sort of then. So the climatic conditions are the same. Really? I think like the chalk soil formations and that sort of thing. So yeah, there's loads of them in and around the South Downs. They were trying to term it Sussex and make it like a brand name like champagne and protect it. Yeah,
Sussex wine.
Exactly.
Yeah, because there's a huge one actually, Raffini Estate.
Raffini,
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because I know people that work there, and they say it's the biggest single site vineyard in. It might even be Europe,
UK,
or maybe Europe.
Oh, I think you're right, actually.
But then when you speak to them, they're like, well, there's plenty of vineyards that are bigger, but they're separated by a road.
Yeah.
So it's like...
doesn't count.
Typically, it's 2 sites, there's loads of vineyards across different fields, but theirs is the biggest single site.
That is, that's claim to fame.
But it's quite a nice place to go and walk. And it's, I mean, my parents live in France now, but they live in the Cognac region, so it's quite flat. You see the vineyards sprawl for miles and miles, but they're not that great for making wine.
Yeah.
You make Pinot and Cognac, obviously, from it, because the wine's not that nice.
Right, okay.
But the Raffini Estate, it's really beautiful rolling hills. You can walk around it and stuff. And I wonder if that is maybe something to do.
Yeah, it's the South Downs National Park. So that's where the South Downs is like a planning policy now. They're really promoting it from a like tourism point of view, the sort of wine industry. So that's why loads of these wineries we've ended up working with, because they now need sort of accommodation to put guests up, restaurants it's gone like beyond just producing and selling wine now to sort of trying to keep people on site for longer.
So good market to get into.
I think so, yeah.
For a would-be investor, now's the time to get into Sussex wine.
So, yeah, there you go. That's it. It's a growing business, I think.
I'd never really thought about it, but yeah, it makes sense, actually.
Yeah, you see loads pop up as well that they just make grapes and sell to other wineries. So again, because we've got really good conditions, but the actual setup costs are so high.
Yeah.
Lots of farmers like diversifying, going, normal farming isn't working, so this is perfect for growing grapes. We'll grow grapes, produce, and we'll sell to Raffini or whoever else.
Well, in France quite a lot of the time they'll do like a cooperative. So the same sort of thing. The vintners will grow the grapevines, harvest the grapes, and then just send them off. Either create the juice, I don't know, the pulp or whatever, or they'll just send off the grapes in the back of a truck.
That's it.
Or sometimes some regions they have cooperatives, so all of the landowners, farmers, vineyard owners, whatever, they'll club together.
Yeah.
And they'll all buy, like one tractor that will, those really tall tractors that go through the vineyard rows perfectly. They'll all club together and buy one of them, and they'll all club together and buy all the equipment and stuff, and make the wine and the whiskey.
It does make sense,
brandy, which is quite interesting. But you sort of think, would people that live in the South Downs form a cooperative together? And I know a couple of characters, and they probably wouldn't.
It's probably more of a rivalry here, isn't it? It's like
I think
classic
so.
British way,
Englishman's name is his car.
That's the one, exactly. Yeah, not quite.
Yeah, that's pretty cool though, isn't it? I mean, apart from vineyards and apart from beachfront properties, what else do you do at RX?
I mean, to be honest, we're a bit of all sorts, really. Anything that's design led, we're interested in. So we're doing youth centre at the moment. We do Grade 2 listed buildings, hotels, do all sorts of projects. But our kind of upfront remit is, if it's interesting and there's some, there's a decent amount of design in there, then we'll always have a look at it and be keen to be involved and try and add something to the project. And if we don't think we can, if we don't think it's design led, we'll kind of put our hands up and say it's probably not for us. But but that's kind of our ethos is generally, if it's sort of local and interesting, we're up for looking at it really and working on it.
That's the same sort of thing as us, really.
Yeah.
If it's interesting. Local, sometimes we have a bit of a battle. I mean, all this stuff's going to Miami fairly soon.
I was going to say, yeah. Well, we have got a job in Costa Rica, to be fair. So there you go.
Love to. Yeah. I think we're kind of the same. If it's exciting, if it's interesting, we'll definitely lean towards it. But you run of the mill, and there's a lot of architects that make really good money, and there's not throwing any shade on them. They'll do like a single story side extension all day long.
Yeah.
But and there's a lot of joiners that will, they'll go to town on the, flat bedroom furniture and stuff like that. But we'll do it if it's interesting. But.
Yeah, we used to do going way back, previous practices when we used to do a lot of townhouses in London, and it was basements were the thing. So double basement, obviously value wise, you get your money back because it's in Chelsea or wherever it was, but the amount of design that can actually go into something like that, it can be pretty damn limited. So you get repetitive projects that are obviously very profitable because they're essentially, a replicate along the street. At one point, I think there was literally like a row of 8 individual houses, and we're doing like all 8 of them or something in one of the mews in London. But that beyond sort of interior fit outs and things like that, there's limited scope for, so we kind of try and shy away a little bit more from that sort of work and focus on the design led stuff really, if we can.
I mean, it's exciting, isn't it? It's fun.
It is, it's fun. You meet really interesting clients along the way. Again, you meet different suppliers, and working with local people on that side of things is really interesting, building those sorts of relationships. And and it's great. You kind of know immediately that person's going to be great for that job. Let's talk to them about that. And you got all these people who can just bring their little area of expertise to it. So it works really well.
You're talking about basements in London. I did a basement project in London. We fitted some joinery or supplied some joinery for it. What amazed me about it, I think it's in near Hampstead Heath. And what amazed me about it, talking to the main contractor who was there, is they'd bought a digger, dug it all out. It's actually 2 stories down and quite away under the garden. They left the digger down there because it's easier to leave. It's cheaper to buy a second-hand digger, dig it all out, and then leave the digger and dig itself back in.
Then have to get the thing out.
Have to get the thing out.
Yeah, that's what they did with the Channel Tunnel, wasn't it? And they just tunnelled from each side and just left them both halfway down.
Did they really?
Yeah, they did.
I didn't know that.
It's like a race between France and England who could get to the middle first, and they just left them in there. And
they're still there now?
During the tunnel. Yeah.
I did not know that. That's really interesting. But I thought, it just seems mad, doesn't it, when you when you do a project like that and such a big expense for digging, it's just like a disposable, it's a sundry.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, isn't it? As you say, it's on those sorts of projects. Again, like we've ended up bizarrely doing lots of basement projects, not in London, but around here where they're a new build house and on sloping sites where, because again, we do loads in the countryside, so new modern houses that are in rural locations, and you end up with these really undulating sites. So sometimes it makes sense because you can kind of cut and fill. So one side of the basement's out the ground, the other side is in the ground where you're on a sloping site, for example. And from a planning perspective, you can get like a larger footprint essentially without the building sticking too prominently out the ground, because most of the time it's all about kind of landscape impact and that sort of thing. So yeah, we have had quite a few quirky construction projects with tunneling underground and basements and all the rest of it. But trying to avoid the London ones now.
Yeah. Do you know what? Majority of our work, certainly as a financial majority, is going to London, and we try and avoid fitting it because London's one of those jobs. If you've got to go to London, you're going to spend from here 3 hours to get there, especially if it's essentially Mayfair or somewhere like that. If we're delivering to London, it's a 3-hour journey each way.
Yeah.
So by the time you've driven there, if you're doing a normal working day, you've got 2 hours on site and then you've got to leave to come back.
Absolutely,
so it's always a super long, tiring day.
Yeah.
Or a day where nothing gets done.
That's it. It's the same, like when we've got just traveling up there, it is a whole day out just for a site meeting.
Yeah.
And it's not that efficient.
We try and get 2 or 3 in when we're up. Like I was up there yesterday with my form, we got 3 in.
Yeah.
No, was it yesterday or the day before? We got 3 in and then got the train home. We left at 8. We're back at like 7:30 or something.
Yeah, just wiped out.
It's just
a drag.
Yeah, and it's 50 miles away. I can be in Brighton, which is the same distance in an hour.
Exactly, that's it.
It's
well, that's like I was saying to you about Atlant, one of the contractors we work with. They've done loads of really nice work in London, but just like the logistics of running a project there with skips, scaffolding, plant, all of those sorts of things became such a headache that they sort of tapped into the new build on the south coast sort of area and teamed up with us on a few things.
And now you've sent them back to a job in London.
We have actually, yeah. True. Yeah. For a repeat client though, so it'd be worth it. Yeah.
Well, that's really good. I mean, it must be really good being able to pick the people that you work with as well. You've got a range of contractors that you've done projects with, and you can, like you said, you go, oh, this project will really suit them.
Yeah.
You can almost tee it up with, when they're finishing that one, and you can suggest them for the next one.
Yeah, I think as architects, like we really like delivering our projects. So you get a lot of architects who will do planning work and then they won't see the rest of the project through for various reasons, or that's not what they do, or clients choose to move on. Whereas we're all about delivering projects as well. So I think in doing that, you're always kind of thinking ahead when you're doing the planning on something. You've got another job that's on site, and timing wise that's going to work really nicely, but that project will be well suited to that person, or and it's great for clients because most of them are really trusting in us. They kind of come to us because they want us to help them deliver the project, and usually we can take them around 4 or 5 houses and show them around, and they go, oh, I really like that, who did this, who did that, and being able to do that is really worth its weight in gold, to take people around and see something one-to-one scale rather than just images on a screen, and let them meet the suppliers, let them meet the contractors, because again, it all adds to the value of the project in the long run, and with those people bringing their area of expertise in.
Yeah, I mean, we do the same sort of thing when we've got particularly new clients. We'll bring them in, we'll get them to meet all the joiners on the bench, see the stuff that's being made. We'll take them to a project nearby or near to where they are and stuff. And I think that's really important because, a house or home is what people spend probably the biggest single purchase.
Absolutely.
Particularly if they're building one.
Yeah.
Especially one of yours. It's going to be quite a substantial amount of money. And joinery is a part of that. That's going to be a fairly big portion of it.
It is, yeah.
And I think if I was going to spend X amount on a bit of furniture or some joinery, I'd definitely want to know where it was made and how it was being made and who it's being made by. I think a lot of people miss that trick.
I think so, yeah. I mean, I think when we take clients see those sorts of things, that they love it, because they remember it at the end of the job. They're like reflecting back on when we went to the workshop and look how the kitchen looks now, and do you remember when we were picking and choosing those samples, and yeah, I think for them to know how it's been put together and kind of have an understanding of that is really good, rather than just walking into something at the end and it's magically happened,
it's all done.
Yeah, them being part of the journey sort of thing. I think they get more out of it usually.
And do you think your delivery of a project is because you like the control of it to make sure that it's executed in the way that you've planned?
Yeah, a little bit selfishly. Yeah, we get OCD about letting go. Really,
it's a control freak thing.
It is. That's it.
I'm a total control freak.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm very rarely on the tools because I'm got a lot of other things. As we've grown, I've got a lot of other things to do, which isn't necessarily being hands-on tools.
Yeah,
but I am a complete control freak. But I have to, on the daily, have to wind it in. I walk through the workshop to go up to the office. I'm like, don't say anything, don't do anything, don't criticise, just keep on going through. And I've got like my foreman who I go, Rich, come on, just
have a look at that.
Can you just tell me? But I have to really rein it in, because I know like it'd really piss me off if I was down here and a boss came past and went, oh, come on, do it like this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But at the same time, I think, well, actually, it's my name on top of the door, isn't it? So I've kind of got, haven't you?
You've got to have your quality control.
And I suppose it's the same. If you've designed a building and you've had your name outside it for the whole time that it's being built, you kind of want to go there and go, this needs to be like this.
Exactly.
Come on, guys.
That's it. Yeah.
Don't just hand it off.
Pass it on. And again, we've got 12 guys in the office, who almost all are architects actually in the office, but it'll either be myself or Derek involved in every single job, and a bit like you walking through, there's obviously guys in the office doing drawing work and going to site regularly and things like that, but we will always make sure we're going to site, checking quality's good, chatting to the guys about the projects. Don't ever kind of sit back and go, right, that's your job, we'll see you in a year's time when the photos come out. We still like to sort of, like say, quality control and just that sort of obsession of making sure it's how you wanted it to be, really, that vision. So whilst you can't literally do everything, obviously you need to pass it on to other people and trust them to do it. Trying to just keep tabs on things it's got to be done.
And you mentioned Derek. When did you set up RX?
So we set up literally at the end of 2016, coming into 2017. We'd worked together for about 8 years prior to that. It was just a right timing. We sort of couldn't see there was lots of exciting projects down here. We both living locally. Decided there was a good opportunity to team up. We always got on well. We liked the same sort of architecture. We, socially and work-wise, always had a really good understanding and relationship. It sort of made sense, to be honest, to just make that natural progression and that step. And we kind of thought it would just be the two of us for quite a while, but it took off pretty quickly, to be fair. So it was we slowly built team members every single year, and most of which are still with us since we started, to be honest. So it's good.
That's a growth rate of nearly one person per year.
Yeah, we'll be going. So 2017. So we've got just 1.5 people a year, basically. Yeah, so
pretty good.
Yeah, and this year's looking busy as well already. Yep. So might be another 1.5 this year.
Well, that's really good. Yeah. It's and good for you guys. Credit to what you're doing, because I think when I speak to other people in the industry, whether it's builders or contractors, other contractors, I hear a lot of kind of tales of woe, of things slowing down and projects being canned or cancelled or spending being capped or whatever. But then I speak to people like you and a few others and a few really good contractors, and they're busier than ever.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think things take longer is what we've found. So planning takes longer, it drags out. Getting jobs on site takes longer just because there's so many contractual things to deal with, and prices have just escalated so much in the last few years that there's usually, the initial tender return usually needs some tweaks to it to get it to a point where a client's happy. So we find, and on site, to be honest, just because the good trades are very busy, we find that it can be slower to get the right people lined up. So I think whilst we've been mega busy, the actual project period is probably stretched out to what it used to be, but that's just sort of the nature of it, really. It's it's just how it's evolved. But yeah, luckily, really busy on a massive mix of projects, like I say. So it's
brilliant.
Good. Yeah,
long may it continue.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
When you were a kid, did you used to draw pictures of houses and then decided that, that's what I want to be? I want to be an architect.
So my dad was an engineer.
Okay.
And he got a job as project manager on the Hong Kong airport.
Wow.
So they built an island in Hong Kong to put a new airport on. And we used to fly out to see him in Hong Kong. It was like all these massive buildings being built. And I was like, this is mega, this is nuts. And so that kind of got me into it, going out there and looking at all the mega buildings that they were doing out there. And I was lucky that because of the job he was in, when I got to the age where I was doing work experience and stuff like that, he'd sort of go,
excellent.
Do you want to try out, going out with the land surveyors, going out with the QSs, going out with the... So I do a few weeks with all of them, but I was like, can I have a few weeks with the architects? And went there and kind of didn't really look back. So it was, it pretty much from a fairly young age, quite interested in it, and always thought I was going to be in construction in some capacity. But I've always been very much into art and creativity and making things, and it seemed like the right choice.
Well, I mean, it's a bold choice. I remember when I was applying for university, I mean, I did a course that was completely different, but I was really considering architecture. And I went to, I can't remember which university I went to have a look around, and they were kind of spelling out the course. It was like, yeah, you do your first couple of years there, and then you do this, and then you do that, and blah, 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 7 years.
Yeah.
And as an 18-year-old, you look at that as a prospect and think, well, I'm 18, so I'm going to spend almost the next half of what I've already... I'm 18 years old. That's nearly another half of what I've already grown to.
Yeah. Doing
one subject and studying one subject before I can even go out and earn any money, really.
It is a bit terrifying. You're right. It's when you start, so it's a 3-year degree, year round, 2-year masters, basically, then a year round, then a final year diploma. So it's 7 years, but that's 7 years best case scenario, really, because not wanting to put anyone off or be down about it. But yeah, you need to get the right amount of experience between each of those before you can move on to the next course.
And that's part 1, part 2, and part 3 RIBA accredited.
That's the one, yeah. So you get your ARB registration and then, RIBA accredited.
But you can do 3 years and then be a part 1 architectural assistant.
That's right.
But you could work for a couple of years before you go back and do your...
And loads of people do that because, like I said, like a lot of people go through the degree, get into work, get experience, enjoy working and the money that work brings, and kind of hold off on doing their part 2, then go back and do their part 2, and again delay their part 3 as well. So it does stretch out. I did a year out before my degree because I was sort of like, I kind of want to be sure I want to do this before committing.
Oh yeah.
So I did a year, when I say year out, year in practice, I worked for an architect's practice for a year, and they said, we'll sponsor you to do your part 1, so they paid for my course. So that was an absolute result. So I was like, well, I can't really get out of it now, can I? I'm gonna have to commit. So did my degree, and to be honest, like the first 3 years are really an arts course, to be honest. It's very conceptual, design based course. So it was a bit of a head shift for me because I'd done a year out in practice where it's not like that in reality, sort of thing. So that was a pretty steep learning curve, but yeah, it's a long old drag, to be honest with you, but worth it in the end.
It's the wheat from the chaff, I guess.
Exactly, that's it. You got to be committed. That's the one. You got to be committed. There are apprenticeship schemes now. So the RIBA brought out an apprenticeship. So you have to do your degree still, but then when you do your degree, you can do a sort of 5-year working apprenticeship where at the end of it you're qualified as well. Okay. So that, I think, is probably getting more attractive to people.
But yeah, I mean, it's a long time to go. If you were going to do the blast all the way through, it's a long time to go without really earning any money. Yeah, especially with university course fees being the price that they are.
It's nuts. Yeah,
probably you went to uni a similar time to me, where I think it was maybe $3,000 a year or
Yeah,
something.
that's it.
I mean, I don't even know what it is now. It's
Yeah,
a lot.
it's like 10, yeah, basically. Yeah.
For 7 years.
For 7 years,
Oh my
exactly. It's
goodness.
a killer. Then you throw in your rent and all the rest of it that you got to pay as a student. You come out with a pretty hefty debt. It's it's not fun. So
It's like the junior doctors, isn't it? It's a similar sort of length time, isn't it, as
it is.
studying to be a doctor. And I remember I had some friends that were junior doctors, and they were sort of going on strike, and everyone was going, "Yeah, but you're on $100,000 a year," and they're like, "Actually, we're not. We're on about £6 an hour,
well,
or something
that's
like
it.
that."
Yeah.
And you think, "Oh, actually, yeah, I can understand," because you're getting yourself into. Well, some people who'd be taking student loans be getting themselves into a real mountain of debt to then come out and earn not a lot of money.
That's it. And it is a definite like leap of faith, because you kind of when you've done your degree and you're a part one in your year out, like you've done your degree, which you're delighted about, you've got a degree, and for most people it's like, great, I've done uni now. Whereas in the world of architecture, you're seen as a part one, so you're like the lowest on the spectrum.
You're the
unfortunately.
labourer.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. So it's quite a sort of bold move. I think that's why a lot of architects tend to sort of have it as a labour of love as well a little bit. I think
I mean, it has to be, doesn't it?
Exactly. But
then I suppose when you see people who are accredited, is it no? What did you call
ARB
it?
is
ARB.
what you get who you get registered with, and they're kind of that every architect has to be registered with the ARB, and then the RIBA is like an optional chartership. So which we do, or we've got. But yeah, it's the ARB and the RIBA basically who sort of oversee it.
But when you're a fully fledged architect, that comes with a level of respect from other architects, because you've been through the graft.
That's it.
You've been through what I've been through.
Yeah, that's the one. Exactly.
You get the nod.
Your stripes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not. God, it can't be easy.
No, that's it. And you do see a lot of people, like, they'll do the degree and then they might go off into other disciplines. They might, I don't know, furniture design. They might go into interior design. They might go into landscape design. They might just go off into different disciplines because for various reasons. But yeah, to actually stick in there and go through the whole process, you've also, like I say, got to get the relevant experience before you can progress to the next step. So it is can be quite a tedious one, but yeah, it can be pretty rewarding as well.
But you do it for the love, because essentially what you do is going to probably last for near enough forever, at least your lifetime, if not your children's and grandchildren's lifetime.
That's it.
You're leaving a legacy with your design.
Yeah, that is the cool thing about it, is it's not like a flash in the pan thing, is it? It's there and gone. It's like you say, what you do has a lasting impact, and it's there for longer than you're there.
Changing
sort of
the
thing.
landscape.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's always like entertaining driving around with the kids, and they're pointing out the window, going, "Oh, that's one of yours, Daddy. That's one of yours, Daddy. Oh, there's those." And yeah, like you say, it's you're sort of changing the landscape. And where we work is quite a close knit area. Most of our projects are within probably a 20-mile radius of the office, so you do get a bit self-conscious at times that you drive around and see a lot of our buildings dotted around, because you think, is that a good thing or not? Do we need to spread our wings further? But
well, maybe not. It's quite nice to do. I think it's quite nice to work locally, because you get a name and you start building up the relationships and knowing people and meeting people. But also, you don't have to travel.
Exactly.
You can just go.
It's so much more efficient. That's it. You just get so much more done. You can go to site, you can go to the next site because it's only a few miles away. You can go and meet a contractor, go and meet a supplier.
Ideal.
It's brilliant. Yeah, it works really well.
And where do you sort of draw your inspiration from?
Again, project by project. So, like, first of all, like site analysis. So if it's I don't know, it could be in the middle of a town, could be in the middle of a countryside, could be in a woodland, could be on a beach. So it's trying to get your cues from what's going on around it. So, there might be historic buildings nearby, or some history to the site that's really interesting, or a material that's really unique to that little village, or whatever it may be. There's all these little things. So I always try and start with some really robust site analysis to understand what we're looking at and what's been before and that sort of thing as sort of design cues. So there's a little bit of narrative to the design, and then build it from there. So I like to work in plan a lot as well. So sketching out plan layouts to make most of the spaces and make that efficient. So I don't ever go into a project with a preconceived idea if I want it to look like this. I try and like almost go in with, I'm not gonna, go in with anything rigid. It's going to evolve, and let's play around with some ideas. So which can be disappointing to clients, because like I say, they'll go, I like this house you did. Can I have one of those? Like, no,
I want that one.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. It must be tricky because your catalogue is, beautiful beach houses. I expect, especially if someone's just bought a property on the beach, beach backing house, they go, I want what they've got.
Exactly.
It must be quite difficult to try and coax them towards something else.
It is, yeah.
I know I've done all those things really well, but I've got this new thing. Do you want to be the first one to try it?
Yeah. No, it can be, as you say, trying to reinvent the wheel every time. Yeah, can be sketchy at times, but it keeps it interesting. It keeps it fun.
And are there any architects that you really respect and look up to? And if there's one or two architects that you could think actually they're killing it.
Yeah, there's loads, to be honest with you. There's loads of new startup practices dotting around. There's loads of practices that were in London who've moved down to the south coast. Margate's become like a funny little hotspot for architects as well.
Well, a funny little hotspot for everything, actually.
Yeah, it has. Yeah. So you've got all of these little areas that, again, we're sort of part of in regenerating this south coast area a little bit, and people, the ripple effect from London down here. Loads of cool practices and loads of good things going on. Always love taking trips into London as well, though, because there's always mega projects going on, and every time you're there, something else is happening. But there's loads of practices. There's a couple we're teaming up with on a few joint ventures as well, that we're working alongside, which is quite good fun. So again, like architects is sort of traditionally have always been like quite, no, this is mine, don't share, don't touch. Whereas we're more, we're open to be collaborative. We're kind of like, we really like the idea of working with you guys. We like what you did on that project. How about we kind of share our thoughts and team up? So we've had a few projects where we thought it makes sense for us to, you can bring something, we can bring something. Let's tackle it together. So yeah, we're kind of not against that at all. Very pro that. So yeah, there's loads of practices out there that we got a lot of respect for, and we talk to sometimes. Again, if you see a project in the press, not uncommon to contact the architect and go, that looks great. What material do you use there? And just get a few tips as well. We're always like not arrogant enough to think we can't ask any questions. So and vice versa, we get lots of emails from people saying, like that project, who do you use there? What do you do there? What material was that? So yeah, that whole sharing thing, I think, is avoiding that old school mentality of competition and all the rest of it. It's more like a little bit more collaborative sort of thing.
That's what I try and do with I've got friends who are joiners, Damo, people like that who are really, really good joiners, and I always say to them, we'll come up together, we'll all collaborate. Yeah. If a project comes into me and I think windows and doors, not really my thing. Yeah. He's an expert at that, and that's his bread and butter.
Exactly.
I send it over to him, and then he gets stuff that he sends over to me.
Yeah.
We just share it around a little bit. And, I heard about a really good timber supplier. I rang him up. You should try these guys. They're great.
Yeah.
He's got a machine that I haven't got, so sometimes we use that.
Okay. Yeah. Nice.
And there's a couple of joineries, or even if it's just smaller, not one-man bands, but self-employed guys who are just making kitchens. We'll try and sometimes we'll do a bit of CNCing or spraying or whatever it is. Just because I initially, when I started, I was very much like, no, this is
ours.
We're gonna win. Yeah,
take over the world.
Yeah. And within about a year, I thought, actually, this is just so negative. Yeah, and you almost want to go and look at a project, go, oh yeah, this is crap. My stuff's gonna be way better, but I think actually it's just such a weird mentality that we have over here to do that. Whereas now I go in, I think, oh, they've done a really good job. I really like how they've done that.
Absolutely, yeah.
And from a client perspective, if you're someone that goes in and goes, oh yeah, I really like this. Yeah, I like that. Because you're going into their house or their property. And if you go in and go, oh, that's shit. Yeah. Straight away, they're going to go,
what's that?
Who's this
exactly.
guy? What's this all about? Whereas if you go in and compliment it, you're complimenting their choice and their taste and their mindset of making the right choice.
That's it.
And I think there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think like it's sort of sharing ideas is in drawing inspiration from stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think like a lot of the time there'll be a project and I think, well, that job done by such and such, whoever it was, is a great example. And I'll take a client to go and see a building that's not our building. Do you know what I mean? Just to say, like, this sort of thing works really well. And it's not, I don't think sort of shying away and saying there's no other architects who exist. Like, we've done everything that's good ever. It's just not reality. So I think, going around just sharing ideas and saying they've done a really cool job there. Like, we should go and have a look at that. I think people are more receptive to that and prefer going to look at things in reality rather than just trying to sort of keep things a bit too insular. So I think that's a better approach.
I agree. And talking of really cool jobs, Seabreeze, one of your projects.
Yeah.
RIBA House of the Year. Oh, was it runner-up?
Runner-up. Sorry. Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
But I mean, fantastic building. It's for those people that don't know, it's a pink house.
Yeah.
Right on the beach at Camber Sands.
That's it.
In Kent. It's Camber's Kent.
It is just in Kent. Yeah.
Just in Kent on the beach, but it's pink. But it's the whole thing. It's the walls, the roof, everything is just pink.
Yeah.
Micro cement finish.
What's unique about it as well is there is no road access to it. So it's one of only 4 properties, I think, along the whole south stretch that has no road access. So everything to build it had to be driven along the beach. So it made the build pretty interesting. And the back half of the site effectively is sand dunes. So you're kind of constantly fighting the elements because the sand dunes want to basically eat the building all the time. But yeah, it was like the surreal, it's got like a sunken plunge pool in it, and which was pre-made off site. So watching this plunge pool on a crane being driven like a kilometre along a beach was quite nuts. And so yeah, I think that had many unique challenges just from being such a interesting location. You probably never do a job like that again, just because of, like I say, it being so specific and unique. Which I think kind of is why, RIBA judges and things like that, they categorized it when Channel 4 came out to do the filming for it. They categorized it in the hard to build category, I think it was, or something like impossible locations or something. So yeah, it was like I say, a challenge in many ways, that one.
I mean, for the layman, what are the challenges of building on a sand beach? The main ones.
I mean, the main ones are stating the obvious, keeping the sand out, because the wind blows all day. Sand, when it's dry, picks up and just goes everywhere. And that's not good for construction, to get sand in all your insulation, all your waterproofing layers, all your window seals, all that sort of thing. So keeping the sand out during the build. The sand dunes are designated as SSSI, so there's like migrating birds that are protected that go there. So you've got to do certain ecology mitigation with netting and God knows what around. You've got obviously the tide that you're playing with as well. So at times of high tide, spring tide, it can get pretty sketchy, and your access can be very limited then, because you, like I say, you're literally driving along the beach to get to the property. And you're just so exposed that, inland, when you have a storm and it's sort of 50 mile an hour, and on the beach, it's more like 80 mile an hour, it's crazy. So yeah, there were quite a few times where Nick, the contractor there, was getting very panicked that the scaffolding was going to end up half a mile away, or the tin hat on the scaffolding was going to peel off at any minute, and all the sheeting for protecting it from the sand. But basically we had to just build like a sort of sealed scaffold structure all the way around the outside to try and stop any sand attacking the building during the build. So
really?
Yeah, so pretty high sort of prelim costs really in terms of your site setup, your site management, your running, and just accepting that the build phase is just going to drag out that much more, because even deliveries like window, you can't have an Arctic lorry drive along a beach because it'll get stuck. So you've got to get your windows across from Sweden or wherever they're coming from, Germany, get them unpacked in a warehouse, and then bring them one by one on a telehandler up and down the beach, because it's the only way you'll get them there. So Yeah, you quickly learn.
I knew a number of people that worked on that project. One of them, my friend, had fitted the kitchen.
Okay, yeah.
And he said that he's got an old Land Rover Discovery.
Yeah.
And he said there were a couple of times where he was pulling people out in it.
Yeah.
And he said he turned up to do some snagging, and then all of a sudden there's another 2 Land Rover Discoveries outside. I think people quickly change vehicles when they're working on that project.
That is the. I mean, it was Nick's sideline. I think was charging different people 50 quid to tow them out to sand who were getting stuck. Scaffolders driving onto the beach, not learning the first time, thinking it'll be all right. It looks wet enough. I'm sure it'll be fine, and then they sink and they're stuck. Yeah, and yeah, not the best. And because the sand dunes constantly sort of eating the building from the back, like every 6 months, Nick has to go down there on a digger, dig them out, and uncover the building again, because otherwise it will literally take it over. Yeah, apparently underneath those sand dunes are a load of houses. So in the war, when everyone went off, like First World War, this was everyone disappeared and got sent off, and the dunes just ate all the house, and there was no like labour force left to sort of dig all those houses out all the time, so they just had to sacrifice them. So apparently underneath those dunes is like an old road and houses that just got swallowed up by it. So
no way.
So there you go. That's what we're dealing with. Yeah.
Wow. How about that?
Yeah.
Well, luckily it's pink, so you'll be able to see.
I was going to say you can't miss it. Exactly.
Like
that's
the
one.
Yeah. Out the top of the dune. If it ever did get covered
exactly,
over,
yeah,
you'd at least know that that one was there. Wow. I hadn't really considered the sand dunes eating the building, but
it's just constantly moving. Yeah, you say pretty cool, pretty sketchy as well. But
and what about the foundations? Does that present its own set of challenges, or was it a pretty simple thing to get over?
They were piled again, like there we did a ground source heat pump, but a borehole. So like air source you can't do because the sand will get in the fans and kill it. There's no gas because you're in the middle of a beach, and we don't generally do buildings that have gas anymore, like as a practice. So your only option is a borehole ground source pump, really. And because it's sand, we had to go down, I think it was 98 meters we went down in the end. And
which probably just constantly filled with water as you were drilling that hole.
Exactly. So it all had to have casing as it went down. And it was nuts when they were, because as they auger it out, the whatever's down there comes up with it, and they found at like sort of 30 meters what they thought was like fossilized trees and things like that. So there must have been potentially some like forest or something on the beach.
Doggerland. That would have been Doggerland, wouldn't it?
That would have been, yeah. Wow. So yeah, it's
cool.
Quite cool, yeah.
It's really interesting actually, because I mean, there's a build going on where I live. There's a development in a field opposite.
Yeah,
real shame. But people all need houses.
Yeah.
But it's currently being suspended because I think they uncovered a little bit of land to do the first footings or to level off the land, and they found loads and loads of archaeological finds. So everything's been paused.
Yeah.
Time team are in there.
We've had a few like that.
The geophys is out.
We had one in Winchelsea, which the old town is like really famous for smuggling.
Yeah.
But it was one of the biggest wine importers in like the 1500s or something. So loads of these houses have got cellars. They do cellar tours.
Yeah.
And we were doing a modern extension to an old historic building that apparently didn't have a cellar. And when they dug the foundations, uncovered a roof for this barrel vaulted stone cellar. So we had to redesign the building to bridge over the cellar, because we weren't allowed, they instantly listed the cellar, so it's protected immediately.
Well, great, but at the same time,
great, but a headache. Yeah, exactly. So I had to quickly get the engineer to redesign it so that the whole foundation of the building essentially formed like a bridge over the top of the arch, because they wouldn't let us bear any weight onto the arch. But the thing was nuts. If you go into it, sort of 4 meter high vaulted arched ceilings, and mega impressive. So you never know what you're going to find on there.
And were there tunnels leading off to the coast and stuff?
No, there was a tunnel leading back underneath the house, so it's probably connected to another basement at some point. But no sign of that base. It must have been filled in at some point. But no, it's just connected to that property basically. But yeah, it's quite interesting. But you're normally sort of hoping on those sorts of things you're not going to find anything. But no such luck in Winchelsea.
So it's a funny old place actually, because Winchelsea, up on the hill, that was a port. And when you drive through now, it's it's what, a couple of 100 feet up.
Yeah.
You drive through, you come down, and actually, not all that long ago in the grand scheme of things, when you drive down onto the Rye Road, that would have all been underwater, but not just a little bit underwater, like hundreds of feet.
Exactly. Yeah, it's mad, really.
And when you drive along the Military Canal out towards Ashford, where you've got all the the flatlands, then you can see what would have been the beach is that hill that kind of rises up.
That's
like
right.
That. You think,
That's it.
I would have been underwater here.
It's crazy.
Only a couple of 100 years ago.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Just like all silted up. They tried to do, tried to build like the biggest harbour, I think it was in the UK, didn't they? In Winchelsea. I don't know if you heard about that. No. And it was something like 100 million back in like 1710 or something, which was now like, it was the most expensive engineering project ever undertaken. And it was open for something like 3 weeks before, because they were constantly fighting the silt. So the silt is basically what killed it, and the constant movement of the sea eventually took over, and the silt just blocked everything up and reclaimed it all as land. But yeah, it was like that. So Winchelsea, at the bottom, you've got where the sort of playing fields are. Like archaeologically, that was the port through there where all the playing fields are. That literally most expensive project of the day. Yeah. And
well, now what would that be? Now would that be the line or something? Wouldn't it?
Yes,
that's quite a significant project.
It's mega.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
What are your views on that?
I mean, it seems like a sort of probably more so a show of look at what we can do than serving a massive function, I would say. Potentially architecturally incredible, like in terms of it's just the amount of creativity into that and testing new things. Whether or not the sort of morals of moving a whole load of people who've been living there for donkey's years to do this sort of little bit of a maybe vanity project potentially, but yeah, the engineering side of it, you've got to be impressed with the idea of living in this self-contained thing. That's something from the future right there, isn't it? That's
it feels like Blade Runner or something. Doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, you see all the CGIs of it and you think, are we going to live like that? Is that like an air-conditioned sealed box in the middle of running through the middle of the desert? It's sort of
and there's your area, and that's there.
That's it. Yeah, it seems
odd,
crazy. Yeah, it seems absolutely crazy. I cannot imagine they're ever going to build the entire thing. I expect it will end up, just in sections. But yeah, I mean, they're trying to show that they're
they can do anything.
They can do anything basically. So yeah, they clearly can.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see if it actually happens.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if someone came to you with a project. And it was what would your dream project be? If someone came to you with a blank check and said, do whatever you want, but it needs to be really good. What would your dream project be?
I mean, I do like working on the private houses because I think what's quite nice on it is unlike some commercial projects, on a private house, you kind of build that relationship with that person, you get to know that person. And we've got jobs now that I finished 7-8 years ago, and they're down at their beach house and they go, weather's great, we're having a barbecue. Are you around? Do you want to come around for a drink? And
brilliant.
And you kind of get to know those people, you get to build a relationship with them. And I find those sort of the more rewarding ones where, they want to show their house off afterwards. And I think, obviously budget is great. Not always essential because, sometimes if the list is endless, it can become a tricky project because sometimes clients worry to commit because I think if you've got some parameters to work with, sometimes it can actually be quite helpful. But yeah, I find the high end sort of private resi sort of work is really rewarding just from that relationship perspective.
Yeah, I mean it is rewarding because you get to see it as well, and they just look great.
Yeah, it's just good fun.
And you always know one of your buildings when you see it. You think, oh yeah, definitely an RX. Yeah, they look really good. And quite often I always ask guests, in fact, if they've got a piece of advice for someone who wants to get into the same field, what would that piece of advice be? So for a budding architect or someone that thinks they want to become an architect, what advice would you give them?
I mean, I would say get some work experience before taking the plunge, because as you've pointed out, it's a 7-year plunge. And I think that first 3-year course is really good fun. You're doing lots of conceptual work. But the reality of the day-to-day job is obviously it's not like that. So I think it is really good to go in with your eyes open and not convince yourself it's going to be something it's not. So I think going out and being prepared to sort of get stuck in before committing to the whole slog is definitely worth doing, because it's not for everyone, that's for sure. So yeah, I personally would always try and go out and get experience, even if that's literally like 4 weeks over the summer holiday or something like that. I think just to get a little bit of an insight of the realities of things. And then I think make the most of your opportunities, basically. I think I was really lucky that I was given a lot of flexibility from like quite a young age when I was in practice, and I really liked taking on the responsibility of the projects. So I think if you kind of embrace it and you run with it and you can add something to it, then I think you'll get more and more opportunities than kind of sitting back and letting it come to you, sort of thing. So that would be my main advice, I think.
Excellent.
Yeah,
I think that's really good. And where can people see your work? Obviously, all along the coast of Kent and Sussex. But,
yeah.
Your website, you're on social media.
Yeah, website, got social media. Instagram is probably the main one, just because we've constantly got lots of photographic content that we're uploading all the time. But yeah, we're on all the social medias. Website we're rebuilding at the moment, actually, but so looking to swap that over. Again, we realised last year we got so much content of projects from last year that we've not put on the website, and thought it's time for a rebuild.
It's tough. We're probably about a year behind. It's 6 months to a year behind on projects to upload onto the website.
Yeah, we're exactly the same.
But Instagram, straight away.
That's it. That's it. And bizarrely, like we get, like I used to always be sort of skeptical, but we get a lot of leads from Instagram.
Really?
We get loads of people contact us and say, love that project. I've got a site here. Would you be interested in looking? Like, it's surprising, what traction you can get from it. So yeah.
That is really interesting. We're the other way.
Are you?
The only leads we get from Instagram are ones that we probably, when it boils it down to it, we don't want them.
Oh, okay.
Jobs that are people that probably come to us with a bit of a dream, but not really any budget.
Right.
But I don't think any of our good big projects, nothing's come from social media.
Is it not? No. I mean, Instagram is the one. I mean, I would say, as a rule, we don't actually do any paid marketing. Like, we're fortunate enough that we're super busy, and our projects get published in lots of places anyway. So we get loads of magazines contact us, or press saying, do you want to take out this publication, this advert? And generally we say no. We've done it a few times and it's really expensive, like £1,000 for half a page or whatever in such and such magazine, and never had a single lead ever. The only thing we've got is cold calls from suppliers saying, we do concrete floors. Do you want to use our concrete floors? We do this, we do that. And so yeah, we found the sort of natural traction we get from Instagram and uploading different things. I guess you sort of got clients looking at houses, looking at for a bit of inspiration, see something and contact us. That yeah, we have got some leads through.
Well, it's getting it out there, isn't it? And that's half the thing. A lot of people I speak to on the podcast and in general, that they always say, whatever you're doing, just get it out there. Yeah. Get it out there to the world, however you can. If it's paintings, get it up on walls somewhere.
Yeah.
If it's stuff that you're making, get it on the internet, get it on social media, put it on, YouTube videos, whatever.
Absolutely.
As long as people are seeing it, then maybe the right people will see it.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's just good to see, for other people to see, that the things are moving forward as well. I'm always conscious if there's a bit of a lag where we've been mega busy and not had a chance to upload something.
Yeah.
And I just like, if we can get things regularly posted and even jobs on site, you get some really interesting shots of like quirky, I don't know, some cantilevered steel structure that eventually you won't see, but looks pretty awesome on site, and the project's progressing. Then that sort of thing's really cool and people like to see.
Brilliant.
So yeah, no, it's good.
Well, this has been great. I've learned a lot actually, and it's been really interesting. I hope anyone listening's really enjoyed it as well. It's certainly been an enjoyable conversation for me, and just thanks again for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Cool. Cheers, Rob. Thank you.
Cheers.